Whatever. Oh, I'm live? Okay then. Anyway, my name is Paul Timmons. I'm doing the speech, How to Survive a Federal Investigation. Honestly, I wrote this outline in 2004 when I originally planned at speaking at Nauticon 1. I was still under indictment, had not been formally arraigned at that point, so I wasn't able to be at Nauticon 1. I was going to be at Nauticon 2, but I was sentenced 2 days prior and didn't even know who my PO was for 2 weeks after that. So, anyway, I've got myself off probation, and so now I can just come whenever I want. Finally, for the first time in 3 years, the government can't tell me what to do, at least in respect to those. Anyway, don't know how familiar people are with the case, so basically, I'll summarize it a bit. The case was about basically Adam Botbile and Adam Salcedo hacking into the Southfield Lowe's. And it started out that Adam and I were arrested, and they identified me as the passenger in the car who was doing all the hacking. I was described as a approximately 6-foot person with sideburns and a goatee and was a Latino descent. They pulled me in, they arrested me on my way to the airport because I was on my way to our headquarters at the company I work at, who politely asked me not to say who they were. Anyway, so I was arrested. I was pulled out of a Metro car, which, if you're not familiar with what those are, Detroit has like these non-stretch limousines that you can order to take you from point A to point B, and apparently our company had a great deal with this that made it cheaper than just taking a taxi, because I was like, I don't want to park my car at the airport. They're like, okay, we'll pick you up in a Metro car. So it's heading down I-94, and 6 Southfield police officers boxed the car in and forced it off the road. And I'm just going like, what? And the driver's like, who the hell are you? I'm like, I was about to ask what you did. And then 2 unmarked cars just pull up alongside all the cars. All the cops get out. You know, they sit behind their doors, guns drawn. And the two cars are just like Ford Tauruses. Dudes get out, they're in black clothing. They just walk up to my side of the car and knock on the window. I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And they're like, are you Paul Timmons? And I said, well, that depends on who's asking, really. And then they flipped open their badge, FBI, actually. And it looks nothing like Mulder and Scully's badge, for the record. I looked at it and I'm like, wow, that's really different. They're like, yeah, it isn't like Mulder and Scully's. I'm like, okay. So, anyway, I get arrested, and they do the standard things like, I get out of the car and they're all like got guns on me. Are you carrying anything? And I'm like, no, I'm unarmed, really loud, and all the cops have to pull their guns down because now I've said if I'm unarmed, I'm not armed anymore. So they can't pate me with their rifles until they prove otherwise. I'm like, oh, cool. Now they're not trying to shoot me. They seize everything, and at the same time, they're arresting Adam. He was working at Office Max at the time, goes out for a smoke break. All of a sudden, a bunch of U.S. Marshals pop out and arrest him right in front of the store. He's sitting smoking a cigarette, and U.S. Marshals. Guns drawn, full flak jackets, U.S. Marshal logo. Like, U.S. Marshals, you're under arrest. So he's like, oh. And, at the same time, Becky was at our apartment. she gets a knock on the door. And they're like, hey, FBI.
That was more boom, boom.
Yeah, it was more like repeated thuds, probably. And they serve a search warrant, pulling what I...
Serve a warrant.
Oh, yeah.
Play games with them.
Yeah, they were like, oh, yeah, we have a warrant. Oh, yeah, show it to me.
Where's my keys?
Yeah, she was actually pretty impressive. I have to give her mad props for that. They kept trying to convince her, oh yeah, we have a warrant, we don't need to show it to you. She's like, yes you do. And so they're like, oh, we'll have to wake up a judge. She's like, there's a duty judge, go get it. And they come back with a search warrant, and then they see what actually is in my apartment, and they go get a box truck. Actually, I have this up here. The full list of everything they seized, because, oh yeah, these are all the court documents. If you ever want to collect a bunch of paper, get arrested. Oh, you'll see all of these, trust me. Close Audacity to save RAM. Anyway, last time I totaled the list, it was approximately somewhere between 20 and 40 machines walked out the door that day.
It was 42.
All right, she totaled it. I didn't. Everything from blue telephone diagnostic tool, butt set, box with miscellaneous discs, numerous, box of miscellaneous documents. The list was pretty exhaustive. They tried taking my cable box, Becky said.
And the Dreamcast.
Yeah, they're like, you can't take a Dreamcast. What the hell is he going to do with that? They did seize the Linux CD for it, though. One of my favorite things was they were marking some of my multi-machine RAID computers as drive bays. They just looked at it and they said, well, this has 6 drives in it. It must just be a drive bay. I don't know. They're kind of stupid. But I'll get into that in a moment. Anyway. I never used OpenOffice until about 12 hours ago. So there's this little maze on the bottom here that was part of the template. I don't know how to get it off. And frankly, screw it. It looks funny. Yeah, as it says, I'm not a lawyer yet. Working on it. If you ever need to know this, for the love of God, go retain a lawyer. Anyway, what I found is pretty much no one in the government knows what's going on. At any given time, you can go up to any court clerk, any FBI agent, even the ones handling the case that you're on. Do not completely know. You can be like, where are my computers at? And they're like, I don't know, some other group has them. You're going, well, how do you not know? Isn't it your evidence? Well, they have this and they have a bunch of procedures, but frankly, they don't know. And there are admittedly few FBI agents who actually understand computer crime. They all like, oh yeah, well, I have Excel on my computer, so I'm a computer guy. Their Unix expert had to call me while I was being questioned, ask how to shut my computers down. Unix expert. Yeah. I was like, why don't you unplug it? But I instructed him actually, I'm like, no, log into this machine and then shut this down and do all this. So it looked really obvious to everyone. I'm like, oh man, Paul's whole apartment just dropped off the internet. 6 people dropped off IRC. Now I can't reach his mail server. What's going on? So I took the opportunity to kind of send a message something really bad was happening. I actually convinced him to shut down one of my machines with the argument of OMG as the argument to shut down. So everybody gets a wall message, system going down now, OMG. Basically, in summary, it's the intention of the U.S. attorney that you never see your day in court. The deck is stacked against you the minute you're arraigned. They don't really have the resources to properly prosecute you. Apparently, in the entire state of North Carolina, the FBI has, according to their agents there, one computer forensics expert. So they seized probably about 115 disks because each one of those computers had RAID. So do forensics on that one dude and mix it in with all the kiddie porn criminals and everyone else, the mafia bosses. And they still have not to this day actually ran any forensics on my computers. They seized them in November of 2003. The government is kind of lazy, doesn't really pay attention to detail. They actually issued the first warrant for importation, possession with intent to distribute and importation of cocaine. The U.S. section codes down there, 2371, 1029, and 1343, are conspiracy, mail fraud, improper use of access devices, computer intrusion, and another form of mail fraud. So they weren't even looking. It's actually a Word template that they fill out in order to print an arrest warrant. And they spelled my name wrong. You'd think that after spending countless resources and having an actual office staffed, they had a field office staffed on a Sunday night to arrest me and question me. They still didn't spell my name right on the arrest warrant. The first thing they do is they arraign you. And then they tell you, oh yeah, you're going to have a preliminary hearing in a few days. Well, that's never really the truth. What happens is that you as a U.S. citizen are entitled to one of the two, a preliminary hearing or an indictment. And in a preliminary hearing, you can actually fight the evidence, you can see what their arguments are. In a grand jury, it's secret. You don't even get to know you're being indicted. You don't get a chance to fight it when it happens. Your attorney doesn't know. He can't be there. You don't get to know what they showed the jury to convince them. They could have, doctored pictures of you, molesting a llama for all you know, and indict you for, kiddie porn. Doesn't matter. Once you're indicted, you don't get a preliminary hearing, and the next time you have a chance to fight it is in trial. So you are doomed. And plea bargains. This is something you'll see a lot in federal court. Often you'll see that actually anyone taking a federal case to trial is very rare. And it's because I pled on a plea bargain. I was arrested in 2003 and sentenced in April of 2005. I moved and went through 2 cars in the time it took for me to plead guilty. If I had gone to trial, it would have taken an additional 3 years, according to my attorney, during which time I would have still been on bond. I would still be awaiting trial right now. Plea bargains end up being not only that, but in many cases, employers you'll find have this thing where if you're arraigned on a felony, you get put on unpaid administrative leave. Try paying for an attorney when that happens. Innocent until proven guilty only applies to the U.S. government. Your employer can still decide, well, we're an at-will state. Screw you, get out of here. So pretty much, when you get arrested, you're pretty much stuck with a plea bargain unless you're already going to go and get, your plea bargain is for actually what you're going for. So, if they're giving you 70 years and your plea bargain's for 70 years, you might as well go to trial. But otherwise, everyone takes the plea bargain.